Hey everybody, and welcome to my first ever episode of my new podcast, Tales of the Weird and Wonderful. I'm your host, Max Tedder, and let's get into it. The first topic we're going to cover is golems, which I never knew anything about. I've heard of them, but I never really knew what they were. Apparently, they come from Jewish folklore, which I had no idea about. And according to the Judeo-Christian Bible, the first golem was Adam, being created by clay and created by God. Which I never knew that Adam was a golem. I've never heard of that before. It seems super interesting. I have never thought of that. Many legends arose in the Middle Ages of wise men creating these beings and bringing them to life. It's awesome. They would bring them to life with representations of people and some sort of token or charm or even a paper with some sacred text on it. They were typically speechless and soulless, which I would assume that would be kind of scary. Having a soulless being at your disposal and basically being in command of them seems terrifying. And we shouldn't have that kind of power. Thankfully, it's just a myth. I hope. In removing the letters or the token deanimated the golem. So, without it, they're useless. They are just piles of clay or whatever they're made of. Typically, stuff from the earth. They were quite useful, but their main issue was being too literal when it came to commands. You would have to be very specific of what you wanted, or they would do the complete opposite, which I have trouble doing sometimes, so maybe I'm a golem. And I'm guessing back in the day, this happened, but apparently the word golem means unformed substance, and is traditionally associated with women. Yikes. Unmarried women are called golems because they are unformed or not rounded well until they're married or have given birth. Now, something I did not even think about is Frankenstein. Frankenstein is a golem. Actually, Frankenstein is the doctor who made the monster, but I don't remember the monster ever having a name. Frankenstein had many variations, like the Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein Conquers the World. And that's about all I know about golems. Golems are crazy and scary, but are very useful when it comes to maybe protection or household chores. So, what are goblins? I have heard of goblins my whole life, but I don't even really know what they even look like. Until now. I had an idea of what they might look like, but I never really knew what they look like. So what is a goblin? A goblin's main purpose is just to be mean to people. Just to cause havoc and trouble to humankind. These stories originated in the 14th century and was most prevalent in northwestern Europe and Scandinavia, the British Isles, and the US. The name has Latin roots, goblinus, meaning the devil or the demon that haunts the country of Normandy, which is very specific. Most types of goblins are known for having very unruly hair and green skin. But I learned that there are 10 different types of goblins. What? I only know the one type of goblin. Goblins. But no, there are different types. Subtypes of goblins. Most people think of the troll or kobold when they think of goblins. Trolls can morph into human-like creatures, but they're often very smaller and much, much uglier. Kobold are more of the traditional type of goblin, and they look more like Dobby from Harry Potter. Yeah, the little house elf. So cute. R.I.P. More malicious types of goblins are called hobgoblins. You know, you've heard of them. Hobgoblins. And they're closely related to another mythical creature called brownies, which I have no idea about at all, which I will cover in probably a future episode, because that sounds delicious. Brownies. I bet they're terrifying. They don't mean to cause harm, but they're well known for their practical jokes, and they often tend to have good relationships with humans. Well, better than most. Knockers are close to hobgoblins in appearance and in temperament, but they live in mines and often befriend the mine workers as long as they stay on their good side. I would not want to get on their bad side. Fuga are also similar to hobgoblins, except they take the form of a black horse, which is so bizarre because when you think of a goblin, you usually think of a human form. That it's ugly, but you don't think about black horses. A subrace that is very small in size is called the bogey, and they are extremely hard to kill because of their size. Hogboons are the most friendliest goblin you can meet, and they don't even act or look like a goblin. Tengus often mimic a dog-like Chinese demon, but more often takes the form of a bird. Which is also weird, because you don't imagine goblins as birds or horses. So, I really had no clue. Tengus are respected by Buddhists as guardians, although they're demonic nature. Now, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, because it's a long word, and I do not pronounce long words that well. Kilikantros, or Kilikanzros, come from Greek mythology and have a very long and lean appearance. Koksu resides in the sea and appears like a mermaid, which is bizarre. So they're basically sirens, I guess, but not really. I don't really know. It's very interesting. But yeah, that's all I have about goblins. Goblins are very cool to learn about, and they basically wreak havoc in your home, and sometimes are said to discipline your kids, giving them gifts when they're good and punishing them when they're bad. I would not want to be in that house where they are treated badly. I do not know what they would do. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you in another one. Bye!